insight all the way from Netherlands. Now we stay in the region. A German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul is on his first visit to Syria to meet representatives of the new government, including President Ahmed Al-Sharaa. In a statement released by German Foreign Ministry, Wadephul has noted that the overthrowing of the Assad's regime, the people of Syria have entered a new era. Wadephul and a German parliament delegation will meet President Ahmed Al-Sharaa and Syrian Foreign Minister Assad Al-Shaibani before traveling to Lebanon and Bahrain. Syria's relations with the West have warmed, with the United States lifting sanctions and European governments developing closer ties. However, Syria still sees continued unrest with clashes between different ethnic groups in their soil. Now we welcome back Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical expert, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mark, for staying with us. Mark, looking at this, what does Germany's engagement with Syria's new government signals, and can improved diplomatic relations coexist with ongoing ethnic unrest inside of Syria?
It wasn't that long ago that there was a huge price on the new leader of Syria's head. We have to remember also, as I constantly use that statement, that that particular individual, Giuliani, has a terrorist background, ISIS background. We have to remember that. It seems as though that Western countries have actually forgotten that. We have seen many, and including, I just wonder what the Trump administration is thinking in regard to that as well. We have to remember this, go through what has actually happened. We also have to remember the clans where there's been the attack on the Druze community there, on Christians there within southern Syria. I have seen some of that footage, and so maybe so have you, where this is outrageous behavior. And then of course we then saw Israel coming to the defense of the Druze community there, because there are many Druze community within Israel. They were the only country to then do that. It's complex, but I have to ask that question. Why are Western governments, leaders, we've seen that over here, we've seen other people, ex-politicians from here going over to actually do that, to then engage, knowing someone's past. But then someone would say to me, but we could look at the past history of who we've dealt with, like Saddam Hussein, for argument's sake, where on the one hand you are selling him weapons, and then you are then supporting him in regard a war against Iran. But Asuma, sorry.
Yes, Mark, I wanted to just follow up. What do you think is in Western, including Germany's interest in, trying to shove it off or ignore Ahmed Al-Sharaa's past? Like you just mentioned, it was not a long time ago that he had a bounty set on his head.
I mean, in many ways, I would like to be able to sit these people down and ask what is going through their head. You then, because we've seen a reconfiguring that is going on politically in that area. We only have to look at Turkey and Erdogan's involvement in regard to the overthrowing of Assad, and of course, Russia. The Assad was then leading on the Russians to then to back his regime in the past. We've seen the awful events in Aleppo, etc. I asked the same question, but it is also about geopolitical, the change in the landscape that's going on. But as I constantly say, we have to be mindful of history. And suddenly we seem to be welcoming a terrorist in. Just because someone's put on a suit doesn't mean that they have then changed their ideology. Maybe they have then switched in how they are then pushing forward their ideology and their wars. Asuma.
Yes, indeed, we'll be eyeing that. Thank you very much, Mark Sutherland, for joining us and sharing that insight throughout our news. Now we have a breaking news coming in from India. A major security scare has unfolded in Mumbai's Powai area on Thursday after 15 to 20 children were held hostage inside a local acting studio in broad daylight. The incident took place at RA Studio, where acting classes and auditions are regularly held. According to police, a man identified as an employee of the studio and a YouTuber allegedly locked the children inside during ongoing auditions. Officials say nearly 100 children had come for auditions, and while most were allowed to leave, around 15 to 20 were forcibly confined. A massive police operation was launched with officers surrounding the premises and eventually rescuing all the children safely. Authorities are now questioning his motive. Now we move on to Turkey. A 7-story apartment building in Turkey's northwestern city of Gebze has collapsed early Wednesday, trapping a family of 5 under the rubble and killing 4 of them. According to Deputy Interior Minister Mehmet Aktaş, the cause of the collapse is still unknown to the authorities, but sources suggest that it might be related to nearby metro construction. Experts have long warned that Turkey's failure to enforce modern construction codes poses significant risks in earthquake-prone areas. Shopkeepers who rented the ground floor are currently questioned to determine whether they dismantled supporting columns for more space, a common practice in the region despite severe penalties. Now we move on to Europe. In Spain's Valencia region, the citizens have once again erupted in anger, but this time at a state memorial for victims of the country's deadliest natural disaster in decades. Regional leader Carlos Mazón was booed and called a murderer and coward as he arrived for the ceremony marking 1 year since the catastrophic floods that killed more than 230 people. Mazón has faced mounting public outrage and repeated calls to resign over what critics call a botched response before and during and after the disaster. Protesters say victims were abandoned and justice still remains out of reach. Despite the fury, Mazón has refused to step down, insisting that his administration did everything possible during the crisis. Let's listen in to some of the attendees of the memorial.
Hoy es el primer día que tengo muchas ganas de llorar en todo este año porque fue tanto lo que perdimos y vivimos esos días que era difícil de procesar como emocionalmente. Por lo demás bien, estoy viva.
Bueno, me parece necesario, pero me parece que se tiene que hacer conforme han pedido los principales afectados, que son los familiares de los fallecidos, que no se han cansado de repetir que no quieren que vaya el presidente de la Generalitat porque no lo reconocen como tal.
Que no podemos entender que nos dejaran abandonados de esa manera, y antes, durante y después, ¿no? Y el gobierno valenciano, bueno, es totalmente responsable de todo esto, porque son los que nos tenían que proteger y nos dejaron desprotegidos, abandonados, y encima nos están dejando como si fuéramos, pues eso, mierda para ellos y sobre todo para las personas que murieron y sus familiares.
Now we move on to Asia. South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Hyun has stated that member countries of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum are close to reaching a consensus on a joint declaration at this year's annual summit in South Korea. Speaking at a joint briefing after chairing a ministerial meeting to prepare for the leaders' summit, the country's trade minister noted that most members agree there are shared challenges, including rising protectionist barriers. South Korea's foreign minister and trade minister has reacted to the situation. Let's listen in to what they have said.
정상선언의 성과 문서들이 채택되는 토요일 리트리트에 맞춰 공동성명도 타결될 것으로 기대합니다.
글로벌 통상 환경이 여러 가지 일방주의적인 어떤 무역 보호 조치, 그리고 관세, 비관세 장벽, 그리고 또 여러 가지 예측 불가능한 그런 경제와 안보 이슈의 융합, 이런 것 때문에 많은 그런 도전을 가지고 있다라는 그런 부분에는 대부분의 APEC 회원국들이 공감을 표시를 했습니다.
Meanwhile, APEC is a 21-member forum that accounts for around 50% of global trade and 61% of world GDP, serves as a platform for promoting free and open trade across the Asia-Pacific region. The forum failed to adopt a joint declaration in both 2018 and 19, making this year's potential breakthrough particularly significant. And that's a wrap on the NewsX Euro.